It is time for Shakespeare's coffee break. Oh, I brought everyone on screen at once instead of going into the solo. Of course, because I've been doing the show for a year, and you know what? I need an engineer. That's just what I need. Claire, let me know TJ's rates. All right. Well, good morning, friends. I'm your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare, and I am on my coffee break. I am here with my co-host every Monday and Tuesday, Mayhemmer. You can find her everywhere, facebook.com/may.hammer. And as our special guest today, we have Claire Bochenek, Artistic Director of the Zenith Players. She's here to talk about classism in Shakespeare and can we make the works of the bard more accessible to everyone. Today's show is brought to you by some wonderful sponsors. Please support the show by supporting them. You can start off with the Friends of the Colorado Northwestern Field Museum. What will you discover this summer? Accepting applications online for their summer dinosaur digs. More information later. And the Shakespeare Yogi. Use code SHAKES.approved to save 50% on your private classes. And the Renaissance Stream Guide. Your TV guide of online Renaissance Festival entertainment with over 70 streams every week. Happy to be there. Go check them out. Facebook.com/Renaissance Stream Guide. Let's start the show. Oh my gosh, I have friends. Oh my gosh. You know what? I think before I get into everything, we should start things off with a nice noisy slurp. Let's do it. Let's do it. Claire doesn't have anything to slurp. Oh, she does. Oh my god. That's just good internet audio. I don't care who you are. Claire, I don't know why I enjoyed that so much, but you just raised. You're sitting there like, oh, I don't have anything. I'm just waiting for you. And then it was like, boom! Just so very quickly. And I spilled coffee grounds all over myself. That's professional, Shakespeare. Well done. Well done. All right. See, I didn't have to say anything. You wouldn't know at home. But
you could have just let it slide.
I could have let it slide. Do I, though? No, because I live entirely aloud. There is no internal monologue except what's the next best joke? Oh, goodness. Claire, did your mug say anything fun on it?
Not really. Okay, so it says "Love you to the mountains and back," but I really got the mug because it had these pretty mountains on it, which reminded me of the Akotar books. So you're supposed to be looking at this side.
Oh, all right. Very nice. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. And Mayhammer is here sporting out some fantastic Jane Austen outerwear.
I made this.
You made it? You made it?
Yeah. It's all cricket, baby.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, you. Did you screen print it yourself?
Cricket has something called infusible ink. So it's kind of like that. So you still cut it like vinyl backwards. And then you just use your heat press to infuse, i.e. dye the ink into your garment. And
oh my god.
There's this pretty ink called it's called patina. So I did her outline and then did everything else in like a gray black.
Do I now have a brand new t-shirt supplier in Mayhemmer? Oh my god.
Oh, I don't know about all that, but
do I have? Is this what I heard? I think that's what I heard. Claire, that's what you heard, right? That's what I heard. I have a new t-shirt supplier in Mayhemmer. Oh, I'm gonna aim that way. Am I revert? Yeah. I'm usually used to. Yeah. I think it flipped me, and I'm here for that. Hold on. I feel like I am not. I feel like I'm mirrored and not normal. Can we read that? No. Yeah, I am mirrored. I am mirrored. All right.
Okay. That's weird.
I'm like, because I'm used to aiming the wrong way in order for it to be. Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Of course, that was the first thing I grabbed. The hashtag suck it there, Jacoby, which I stand by it. Of course.
But yeah, I mean, I can make personal shirts. I can't mass produce them. I don't have the manpower.
Manpower.
There you go. But yeah, I would be in my costume, but I've been packing up my costume room slowly to avoid trauma. Because we have a house that's we put an
Are you under contract?
Well, okay, so it's complicated, but
I feel like I'm in the same situation right now.
It's very complicated.
Bravo to the both of you.
But I better start packing now, because if you were to see what my costume room looks like, I have 2 industrial clothing racks of costumes.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's fantastic.
So I got to start now.
All right, that is fantastic. All right, and now because I'm going to leave May up on screen for just one more moment. May, could you come in slightly closer to the camera so everyone can see that lovely necklace?
Ooh.
All right. So one day late, happy first contact day to you. Since I am on screen with other fans of Star Trek, did everyone watch the teaser trailers for Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks?
I watched 2 of 3. 2 of 3.
All right. Spoiler alert, Q is back.
I wanted that so bad. I wanted that so bad. Like so bad.
And on CBS All Access yesterday, you can watch everything now on YouTube. They released it all to YouTube after they were done. On CBS All Access yesterday, or I'm sorry, Paramount Plus, they did just first contact day and lots of Star Trek content. Will Wheaton hosting everything. His interview with Sir Patrick Stewart was fantastic. He was nerding out over his own friend, which is that he's known for 30 some years. So that was delightful.
Awesome though. Like
it is.
If I was friends with Sir Pat Stew for X amount of years. But I mean, I would still fangirl. Like he's Sir Patrick Stewart. Like he's classically trained. He's just so Rico Suave in the British version. Like I'm just here for it.
Yeah. Also, John Van Vliet wins the internet this morning. Already, John, you're off to an early lead. He says Q, but not anonymous. Well done. Well done. Yeah, the OG good one who was bad but good. So and then Reverend Tommy is almost through season 7 of TNG Binge Weeks. Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Reverend Tommy, the last 5 episodes of the series are going to make you cry. One of them because they're just genuinely that bad. Season 7 was the season where they're like, can we do this? Yeah, let's try it. Was that terrible? Yeah, but let's put it up on TV anyway. And also, but also it's like, here is some of our best work we've ever done. So, but we're not here to talk about Star Trek and First Contact, although live long and prosper. And this, by the way, when I see you in Smithville, people, when I see you in Scarborough, when I see you in New Jersey Renaissance Fair, this is how I am greeting you. I am not shaking hands. I'm not because I fear your germs anymore. I fear your lifestyles. That's basically it. Yeah. So no, I do feel your germs. I do feel your germs. Like you could be carrying around like Black Death. I don't know. All right. Anyway, I love you. I love you all. But Claire Bochenek, you are here to give us a little bit of an education, a rant, if you will, about classism within the world of Shakespeare and how to make it more accessible to modern audiences. And this is something that is near and dear to my heart. This is part of the reason why I continue to do what I do. And I love kicking off Shakespeare Month with a wonderful conversation. So let's get to it. Claire Bochenek, what have you got for us? School us, my friend. Take us to church.
Well,
or just school. You know, that's fine too.
It occurred to me yesterday that this is essentially an extension of the last time I was on here, where we had a big conversation about gatekeeping in nerd culture, because they are directly related. So, basically, my rant always ends with, and this is why people hate us. This is why kids groan when we talk about Shakespeare in school. And a lot of it is just because we have elevated it to the extent that it has become unreachable and just not easily understood by everybody. It's still modern English. It's early modern English. It's not old English.
Yes.
But yeah, I was online. I belong to several Shakespeare groups. And I was looking at how we talk to each other And the internet is a terrifying place. Academic Facebook is also a terrifying place where the insults are still thrown. There's just different words used. And the one phrase that really got me was, if you don't perform it this way, you shouldn't do Shakespeare at all.
What?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was specifically regarding verse. And for anyone, oh, my camera's going. For anybody who is somewhat familiar with Shakespeare, we know that a lot of Shakespeare is written in iambic pentameter, but you don't want to deliver Shakespeare constantly with hammering home the iambic pentameter. 2 hours of Romeo and Juliet, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks, is going to get really old and everybody's going to fall asleep.
Well, yes, I personally, for one, hate the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That is, in my mind, just simply a field guide for how to do it. And I mean, and it works if you're trying to figure out where to maybe put a breath. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, it's just like, no, just speak. Hamlet says it freaking best, and I think he's basically smacking everyone around when he says, "Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounce it to you, trippingly on the tongue." I'm sorry, continue. Yes.
Welcome to my rant.
Hooray!
So, yeah, saying things like, oh, well, if you're not going to perform Shakespeare this way, then don't do it at all. There's several problems with that. First of all, that's not how it's intended. The verse is there as a guide. Sometimes it's really fun. Okay, to be or not to be, that is the question. There's an extra syllable in there. So if you deliver it as to be or not to be, that is the question. What do we do now?
Yes, that is what we. Yes, dear friends, that's what we call Hendaka syllabic. And more on Hendaka syllabism on my Thursday show. All right, back to Claire.
So there are fun ways to get people interested in Shakespeare. Like, okay, you have the roadmap. You know what iambic pentameter is. Now use it to find the moments in there where a syllable is stressed, and you want to know why. Why is that particular line trochaic, which is the opposite? So instead of bum-bum, you're doing bum-bum. It's I'm going to mess it up right now. But to find out why Shakespeare changed things the way he did, basically, the more structured you get and the more rules you throw at people, the less they want to play.
Yes.
And ultimately, you love Shakespeare. This is one of your favorite things. Don't you want it to last? So by putting all of these exclusionary rules in place about how Shakespeare may or may not be delivered, about what time frames you may or may not put Shakespeare in, about what genders or what races that you are allowing to play certain roles, wouldn't you want more people to experience this to ensure the lasting power of Shakespeare, or should we just let it die at its peak?
See, and that's a valid point, because like when I first got introduced to Shakespeare at a very young age, thank you PBS, to watch things. But when you're young, you're just kind of like, oh my God, it's hard to keep a kid's interest, So when I got to high school and I was in advanced English, my teacher, I'm gonna call her a professor, but my teacher, our focus was Shakespeare for that year, but she made it in such a way that to keep a bunch of 17-year-olds entertained and into it, we had to read it. We read it all. Like we read the plays and everything, but she had us read it how we would speak today, using the lines, but using normal speech. And then she would teach us, okay, this is what the iambic pentameter is, and go into what different things were. So that way we weren't just like listening to the same droning thing over and over and over and over and over again, to where we're just like, okay, we're over it. Can we take this test and get over it? But yeah.
I mean that brings up wonderful versions of like going also back to Claire's point of stipulating what race or what gender can do a part, what age. I mean, there is such a thing as age-appropriate casting, but then also let's think outside the bun. I suppose we could. Taco Bell is not our sponsor. Taco Bell, I hate your food. My wife loves it. If you want to give me money, Taco Bell, hit me up. All right, but anyway, Taco Bell's like, what?
No,
we're open for breakfast now. No, but just like Sir Ian McKellen playing Mercutio right now. That is a thing. That is a thing that has most people. It seems like, well, I would listen to him read the phone book. Which, by the way, children, phone books are a thing that we used to use to find each other's numbers. Now we just use Google. But a lot of people are also probably on the opposite side of that coin, especially if you were any other actor. I was just saying, well, why is this old guy playing Mercutio? Is that allowed? It allows you, one, to bring in a new interpretation to it, also decades of life experience, and B, see something new. And maybe, just maybe, Mercutio is the much older friend of Romeo. He's his advisor. Or maybe everyone in the cast is a lot older. I don't know. There's lots of ways you can go with that.
Also, at the end of the day, this is a play where the friar makes a special potion that knocks Juliet out for exactly a day. If we're going to have to make things make sense, then we're going to have to make everything make sense. And honestly, the world is more fun with no rules in theater.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, Juliet, this potion will make you sleep for 2 and 40 hours. Meanwhile, how long does it take to get to Mantua from Verona? Quite a bit of time. So it's like, you roll in, have lunch, go to a cafe, turn around. It's just like, it takes all day to get there.
Also, representation matters.
It does.
So there's nothing more frustrating than being a performer and then say you're in a school production. This is directly aimed at high school teachers. I see you.
Yep.
And they decide that they are going to do a Shakespeare play, but they're not going to gender bend, and they are going to choose to cast it in a way that to them and is historically accurate. Where
oh my god,
like if you're going to do that, then you need to have men playing all the roles first of all.
Yep.
Indeed.
So there's totally limiting your field, but if you're willing to stretch it a little bit, then you'll let women play the 2 roles or the 3 roles that happen to be in that show. And then that is going to seriously limit who is interested, who is willing to play what. And that is gatekeeping, essentially, because you are limiting, what is it, 70% of your base? Is it like 70% of students who audition for shows are female? So
yeah,
it's
go ahead, Meg.
No, I was saying because like I think that's part of why like I was a theater kid, but I got discouraged from ever trying to grow outside of certain things because as a woman of color in a very not POC town, I never got casted for anything. And when we did do Shakespeare, they said I could play, you ready for it? A maid in the background. I was like, no thanks, I'll pass. But whereas I have a friend of mine, people assume that they are femme just because of their body, but they're more non-binary, and they went to the British Academy, for stuff like this, and they played Mercutio in pure drag because that's what they are. They are more and pure. I thought they were a dude the first time I met them when I saw them as their Mercury. I was like, who's this guy creeping up on you, girl? And my friend was like, oh no, that's my friend. I was like, oh.
But also on that of let's say, keeping the topic for just a moment longer on Mercutio, Mercutio and drag. Thank you, Baz Luhrmann. In the 1998-7 version of Romeo plus Juliet that he did with DiCaprio and Claire Danes, where you have Harold Perrineau as effectively drag queen Mercutio, and it is the most fun sequence in the entire movie, but B, and that's just my opinion, but my opinion is correct. So Shakespeare, hello, right? So no, Claire's like, oh,
you wrote
God,
it. You wrote.
She's like, what sweet baby? Claire's like, what sweet baby God have I got myself into now? she's like, all right, Shakespeare, wrap it up. No, it's like, yeah, you meant one thing. I'm taking a different direction. I'm a director. Hello.
I'm just
oh yes, your words.
Make sure that my Bernhardt Hamlet shirt is in view.
I love how very 1930s aesthetic that looks too, by the way. It's lovely. But just Harold Perrineau as Mercutio really opened doors like for that, and it's a thing that had been done of having drag queens play that part Mercutio quite specifically, people performing it in drag, but to put it front and center in an internationally known movie that helped make stars of its stars, it really went a long way to normalizing that you can do anything with Shakespeare, up to and including using pistols and rifles and machine guns in place of daggers and long swords, but then also putting like name branding them on the side: long sword, short sword, dagger. I like it's a clever bit of stagecraft, and it just shows the world, here is what you can do. There are more possibilities. There are more in heaven and earth, and I jumped up in your philosophy. Wow, I am full of quotes this morning. This is amazing.
Also, the people that have qualms with the Baz Luhrmann approach, I do have issues with some.
Oh, so do I.
Movie, but specifically regarding the use of guns instead of swords.
Yeah.
Here's a lot of people think, well, then it takes the fight choreography out of it, and I'm like, do you know what the fight choreography was like in Shakespeare's time? You watch the same fight over and over and over again because they had such limited rehearsal time that was the fight. They had the fight that they threw in, and then the person that would fall. So they're not necessarily removing groundbreaking choreography.
No, not at all. Stephen Eldridge, by the way, is suggesting that possibly instead of guns or daggers, we use fluffy kittens. I'm in favor of that, but let us continue.
But yeah, essentially, we had the Laurence Olivier Henry V.
Yes.
We had the Ken Branagh Henry V, which was really cool in the fact that it did kind of elevate the Laurence Olivier Henry V. There are certain shots that are frame for frame the same, but you get those like classic Ken Branagh long shots in there. But he was so young when he made it. I think he was 27 years old.
He was Henry's age, and that was a beautiful thing about it. And I mean, he was Henry, and that shows a lot too. It's like a young person can play the part of a young person, but also he was that movie's Henry V in as much that he also directed and did a script for it. And so he was leading this charge, and it was brilliant. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But what that did is it created some more interest from young people in Shakespeare. And it's like, anytime you see that, anytime you can do something to grab interest and make it accessible, do it. Because it's about the lasting power of Shakespeare. And it's also, and my primary take with people that come at me for breaking rules is, well, why can't I will follow your rules if you give me a good concrete example for why I can't cast this person in this show, for why a woman shouldn't play Hamlet, for why really anything, why a line has to be delivered a certain way, otherwise you just shouldn't touch Shakespeare.
No. Dan Wenzel has a good point on aging. And he says changing the ages for a specific reason is another option. He's had the idea of setting Romeo and Juliet in a retirement home. Romeo and Juliet are the residents. Lord Capulet and Montague are their children who are now in charge of their lives. That's a fun twist.
Why not?
Exactly. And then the Prince of Verona is the head of the nursing home. I mean,
it's actually funny that we keep mentioning Romeo and Juliet, because one of my next research projects is specifically regarding marriageable age and why we keep harping on how young Juliet is. And it's because I personally believe that Shakespeare, the man, thought that Juliet was too young.
Also, he was a guy who had daughters. Your opinion changes about such things when you have kids. I mean, not always, not for old people. Some people have good thoughts and ideas going in. Some people become more enlightened once it happens to them. But this was a man who had 2 daughters, and he was quite young when the first one came around. So it's just like, nope, she's a bit too young. Because if you go into, what was it, 1593, generally when Romeo and Juliet is thought to have come out, his eldest daughter would have been Juliet's age. It's just like, oh crap. Oh, all right, 13. Oh no. No.
There's a meme that's floating around that's like, Romeo and Juliet is not a love story. It's 2 idiot kids that blah, blah, blah. And Shakespeare, if you read it, if you, of course, if you're hung up on, like, you know, the iambic pentameter and that's something you can't get past, well, then you're going to miss this too. But ultimately, he keeps mentioning the fact that Juliet is a child, that Romeo is very young, and this is ultimately not their fault. They are enabled and encouraged by the people around them.
Indeed. It's entirely pushed also by Tybalt. Tybalt is the only person who wants to keep that feud going. Lord Capulet does not. He says Romeo shall be endured. Tybalt is the only one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, hear me out though. He's the only one that wants to keep Juliet safe.
Tybalt?
He wasn't doing anything at the ball until somebody started looking at his cousin.
All right. Okay. Fair point. But also, Tybalt is like, hey, I'm here to cause trouble and do things because and here's my point. Juliet loves Tybalt basically as a brother. All right. Romeo gets into the garden really freaking easy. And she says, Romeo, how are you here? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb. My father's men will kill you if they find you here. And she's like, ooh, this is so exciting. And Romeo's like, I just kind of came in, through the gate, but yeah, it's fine. And Juliet has built this so high. partly because A, she is a child, and B, she has her older cousin who's, let's say, 18, 19, 20 years old, Tybalt, in her ear going, there was a time when the Capulets ruled the streets of Vernon. Who should come in but the Montagues? And so he's built it up to epic proportions. It's the Trojan War in his telling, and she buys into it hook, line, and sinker because she is not yet 13.
Here's the other thing. Specifically in the ball scene when Tybalt is like, hey, Uncle, Romeo's here. Lord Cap is like, they say he's an honorable gentleman. Like, they say he's fine. Let him be at the party if he wants to be at the party. Which actually makes me wonder. They were working out this deal with Paris, which was good. But if they had gone to Lord, if the friar had gone to Lord Cap and been like, this will end the feud, you both are wealthy, this will like create an alliance, would Lord Cap have possibly gone for it?
Probably, I agree. I think he would have.
So,
May, your thoughts?
Actually, like, there are so many cool lessons in it.
I don't know. Like, there's just so much to unpack because I've seen all, like, there's a lot that I've seen, you know, and I was kind of bothered by the age thing. To backtrack. Cause, you know, and maybe it was just my upbringing. I'm like, they are kind of kids. What y'all know? Like, what do you know? But then I had to think about the time period as well. You know, what was the lifespan? 30? Like, you know, but like, you know, but I had
violently and young.
I know, but like, I was just, you know, to backtrack to the age thing, you know, I felt like they were young, but I had my own, you know, ingrained stuff from my youth and growing up and stuff like that. But I also was like, okay, but what about this time period? Was this normal for this time period? You know, you know, and that's what I'm saying. I was like, I don't think this is right. You know, I was like, but part of me was like, they're kids, you know, like everybody had that summer love type of thing. You know, they had their little boyfriend, girlfriend thing. You know, honestly, part of me was like, well, I mean, if the parents gave a crap and were like chaperoning, you know, whatever, what was the big deal if they would? I mean, like, y'all get over it. Like, if the kids like each other and y'all, you know, this feud thing, maybe this would have brought peace to everything. Like, just let them be. And who knows? Maybe it would have fizzled out like most high school romances, you know, like just like whatever. It was great. Moving on, you know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because long betrothals were absolutely normal.
Yeah.
So to have your daughter at the age of 12 betrothed to somebody, that was normal. But actually having a daughter at the age of 12 at the time marry somebody was abnormal. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you I wouldn't let them get married. Like, but if they were to be betrothed and have a chaperone like they did back in the day and have their little outings, like, part of me was like, y'all kind of made this hard on yourselves because what do kids do? You tell them no, what they're gonna do. They're gonna do it more anyway.
Yeah,
like they're gonna do, and I'm like, and as a parent, I see this with a 4 and 6 year old every day. You tell them no, well, let me figure out how to sneak and do it. You know, like, but truth though, like you're pushing. They, you know, in my mind, they're pushing their own kids away. And if they would just be like, okay, you know, we can have this courting session, betrothal thing with chaperones and blah, 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 instead of making these kids be like, no, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, now we want to do it more. Like now we really want to sneak around more.
It's very interesting to also look at how sheltered it's possible that Juliet was, given the fact that she was the sole heir. So, because Lord and Lady Cap weren't able to have any other children. So whether Juliet was actually allowed, like, outside of the house, we don't know.
Yeah.
We get the feeling she really wasn't.
That's what I was noticing too. That's what because like I was like, is she not allowed to go outside? And because I kind of could see that restraint of her not. And the other part of me saw that as kind of odd too. But I at the time I didn't know the full historical backgrounds of all the thing. I was like, so we just hiding your kid away? What is this, like Sleeping Beauty or something? Like, I mean, we just gonna put her in a tower and pretend she doesn't exist until you're like, all right, here we go. But in my mind, if you have a daughter, and you want the family, she may not be a boy to quote unquote carry the name as they thought back then, but wouldn't you want her to continue the family in some form or fashion instead of locking her away like a piece of china that you never use?
Well, I think that's also where Paris enters the picture, and what makes him interesting and kind of weird, to be honest, because he obviously is in town. He's shopping for a wife, interested in Juliet because of how her family does financially, and the father pushes for a long engagement. But that's also where one of those creepy moments where, like, she had not seen the change of 14 years comes into play. And it's like...
See, and that's my other thing. And refresh my memory. How old was Paris?
We don't know.
His age isn't given, but we can assume he's late 20s, early 30s, possibly even older.
Because he's shopping for a wife. This isn't a child, and I'm like, so wait a minute. And that was another thing that you brought up about the change of 14. I went, whoa, wait a minute. Oh no, and like, to me, that's creepier and more disturbing than letting two kids run off, than marrying to betrothing your 12-year-old to some older dude, waiting until she's 14 and then be like, good luck. And I'm like, no.
But that was historically normal. So what Lord Cap, and this is why I forgive Lord Cap a little bit. He wants them engaged, but theoretically they wouldn't be married for like another 4 or 5 years. So he wants that like betrothal locked in.
Yeah.
So it's ready.
And and you see that done in the great royal houses where children would be betrothed to each other in infancy. That happens with Prince Arthur, the future King Henry VIII's older brother, and Catherine of Aragon. They were betrothed to each other as infants.
And to me, that I knew more about, because that makes me feel less creeped out, because you're both babies. You're both going to be the same age. It's, even though it's like an arranged marriage, whatever. But to me, it's not like a 12 and a 20-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was at birth that this was decided, blah, 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 Christianity under the eyes of God, blah. A
really interesting thing too, because you get directors that are so hyper fixated on how young Juliet has to be. That they wind up looking to cast like a 13-year-old.
No.
But if you look, my dogs are losing it. If you look at later in the play, the behavior that Juliet exhibits is not it's not the standard behavior, and you're certainly not going to find a 12 or 13-year-old that is able to convey what Juliet's going through at the time. So,
Indeed.
I bring up the why not again, cast an older actor. And if everybody like is hammering home, this is how old she is. This is how old she is. The audience will get it. They'll understand. Yeah. They don't need to actually.
But you need somebody of that maturity mentality to be able to portray, and as I got old, when I was younger, I was like, but when I got older, that's when I started thinking, I was like, hold on, this plays a little, and but my thing is like, what caused a 12-year-old to be this way? And I'm like, God, what did she go through already?
It's also a 12-year-old that's written by a 30-something-year-old man. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Hollywood treatment to an extent. It's giving young people lines that they would never say when given half a chance on their own, because they don't have the life experience to lead to that. And then also making children sound far older than they are, we tend to buy it to an extent with Romeo and Juliet, quite specifically, because it's a 400-year-old piece. And so we're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe they did talk that way. It's just like, also, no, it's theater. No one ever speaks like that in theater.
No one speaks in iambic pentameter. Occasionally, the words will slip in, but nobody actually does it. And that is something that really...
I beg your pardon.
The slides the glasses up the nose and actuallys really is something that came about by 19th century Shakespeare scholars who suddenly decided that these works were only for academic, well-educated white men. And it's that, and essentially that's what gave birth to the authorship question.
Yeah.
It's directly tied to classism. So the idea
and that brings us to our ad break as we finally hit the point of all of this. I'm going to have to pause and pay some ads. I was waiting for either you or me to be able to get there, Claire. So we're going to get into it in just a moment. But first, we need to thank some sponsors. So please support the show by supporting our sponsors, such as the Friends of the Colorado Northwestern Field Museum. The Colorado Northwestern Field Museum. Go to the link that I'm showing on your screen right now. Go to that because summer dinosaur digs are now open, accepting applications for summer 2021. Now, while many people only dream of taking part in a dinosaur excavation, through Colorado Northwestern Community College, that dream can become a reality. Located in the heart of dinosaur country, CNCC offers you the chance to work alongside professional paleontologists to uncover fossils that have been buried for 74 million years. Da, 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 da. Why am I singing? I don't know. During a 2-week session, you'll learn about paleontology by digging, brushing, and uncovering a unique fossilized specimen. There is no experience required to take advantage of this amazing opportunity, only a passion for experiencing fossils up close and personal. Participants also have the option to earn college credit during the 2-week session. Email Liz Johnson at elizabeth.johnson@cncc.edu or call 970-824-1119 for more information. What will you discover this summer? And we are also brought to you today by the Shakespeare Yogi. And you can use my code Shakespeare.approved to save 50% off of your first private lesson. Leonard Chilingarian, the Shakespeare Yogi, helps creatives develop authentic connection to balance and character by combining yoga with Shakespeare accessibly and playfully. Also, full disclosure, she's going to be on the show tomorrow, taking me through a flow all about Benedict's speech. I do much wonder. So that's going to be a fun piece tomorrow. Claire just looked up like, what? So join. That's not even. Yeah, she's like, what?
I'm listening.
Oh yeah, so yeah, tune in tomorrow for that. It's going to be a great fun show. But let's bring that back up now. Virtual 10 classes are available over Zoom on the first and third Sundays of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Recommended $5 donation. All creatives of any kind are welcome. Virtual private lessons are also available by appointment. Now, you can use code SHAKES.approved for a 50% discount on your first private lesson, which is valued at $50. For access and payment info to the Pay What You Can and private lessons, email Lena the Shakespeare Yogi at theshakespeareyogi@gmail.com or send her a private message on Instagram at the Shakespeare Yogi. Shakespeare Yogi, hey, noni, namaste. And finally, the Renaissance Stream Guide, your TV guide of online Renaissance festival entertainment with over 70 streams every week, featuring live music, belly dancing, play readings, yoga and fitness classes, comedy, art streams, demonstrations, talk shows like this one. Like and subscribe to facebook.com/Renaissance Stream Guide. Discover a new favorite or come across someone entirely new. Renaissance Stream Guide. Please support the show by supporting our sponsors. And you can also become a sponsor of the show. Send me a message right here to Shakespeare's Coffee Break. Go like and subscribe to the show. But facebook.com/Shakespeare's Coffee Break. Or also you can, so let's put it right there. or you can also send me a message at facebook.com/Shakespeare approves. And then while you're at it, also go follow me on Instagram, Shakespeare.approves, Twitter, YouTube. Go like, subscribe, click the bell, ring the bell, kick the bell, headbutt the bell, do something with the bell. I've heard good things about the bell. But let's get back into our conversation with Claire Bochenek, Artistic Director of the Zenith Players, as we talk classism within the world of Shakespeare and how to make it more accessible to modern audiences. Claire, take the floor!
So, yeah, it's actually really interesting to take a look at the fairly new idea that Shakespeare could not have written what he did because he lacked the education and beautiful upbringing, and how classist mentality that is. It's basically set in a principle that one's identity solely comes from their education and financial background. And you find that a lot of these people that will argue this point come from a place of pride in their alma mater, pride in their academic achievements.
Would you say also that, May, back up your t-shirt a little bit?
Oh.
Show us the t-shirt. Would you say it also comes from a place of pride and prejudice?
100%.
I'm sorry, I had to. The joke was there also.
It's there.
I mean, costuming and career choices aside, I stan Jane Austen. I did not like that movie, Becoming Jane, but otherwise, I stan Jane Austen. All right, continue, Claire.
So,
I'm sorry. Also, it's amazing that you put up with me. It is amazing that you put up with this on a fairly regular basis.
To ask a similar question, you mean to tell me that a man that was born in a log cabin and was a boxer and didn't have an Ivy League education wound up writing the Gettysburg Address?
Well, to be fair, actually, push my glasses at my nose. It was only 280 words, Claire.
It's just there is no reason outside of somebody feeling that a person of middle class origins could not have completed this, that this movement exists. Shakespeare was also by no means just like a peasant on the street. He did have an education. We have the books he read. He just happened to take it to the next level. And so while he didn't go to Cambridge, he's by no means uneducated. But a lot of the feeling of, well, how could somebody have created these lasting works and these bits of fantastic verse without having an education? Then what does that make me? I haven't written Shakespeare and I have an Ivy League education kind of mentality. And that's where it comes from. It's a sense of feeling like you are not enough because somebody that had less of a privileged upbringing than you accomplished more.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. On that, it's almost FOMO of it's the whole thing of, oh well, look what they did with their life, and they are but 30. I am nearly of an age with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I believe he's 2 years older than me, maybe 3, and it's like, well, I didn't write Hamilton. I mean, hell, I didn't even write In the Heights. By the way, I'm so excited about In the Heights. In the Heights, by the way, so like, and I say, hell, I didn't write In the Heights. In the Heights is the show of like, oh, that's a really good show. You should go see that show. That's a fun show. I'm glad they're turning it into a movie. And Hamilton's like, well, game over, everyone. Okay, he won. All right, fine. Walk away. But it's a little bit of that. But it's also, and I think partly because of the content, of things like Hamilton. There's a little bit of the and just the sheer joy with which it is accomplished, that it's like, you know what, it's okay, because we see where the game is now. It's like, we're allowed to go do that, and you can take it almost as challenge accepted, pick it up and run. So I think it is a little bit of the FOMO mentality of, I can't do that. He beat me to it. Screw that guy. And as you said, well, I've already done this. I have this degree. Look at this. I have this nice piece of parchment on my wall. And by the way, I do not. If that, and that another time. But if that says like I can't do it, then yeah, as you say, well then how the hell could he have done it? And it's just ridiculous. Dan Wenzel brings in another slight addendum to this. He says, I'm going to put you full on screen so your head isn't chopped off. He says, he always feels like the authorship question is based on the publish or perish part of academia. To say Will Shakespeare was Will Shakespeare is not new information. To say Will Shakespeare was Edward de Vere brings up an argument. Right or wrong, that will be more likely to be published since there's something to talk about.
That's very accurate. Yes.
Yeah. And there's that. Now, fun side note, when I say I don't have a parchment hanging on my wall, I am not a college graduate. Just like Shakespeare, I am not a college graduate, and yet I have made it mine to an extent now, at this point, my life's work to do this. I am the perfect person to be Shakespeare? I don't know. Anyway, continue.
There's an entitlement situation.
No, there very much is.
It comes from hundreds of years of exclusionary casting practices and exclusionary college admissions problems. So when you only are allowing white men to play Shakespeare and old white men to study Shakespeare, then it should come as no surprise that it's utterly impossible that a person of middle-class origins is deemed unacceptable to have written these pieces.
Yeah.
And it's you don't have a right to Shakespeare just because you've studied it. I'm 13 years ago yesterday, I got my acceptance to my RADA program.
Congratulations.
Now, yay!
Studied it doesn't make me any more worthy of delivering a Shakespeare speech than a high school kid from down the street. It might mean that I have a little bit more knowledge about it, but everybody has a right to these texts.
Yeah.
They're out there and they're available. So it aggravates me. And so when you introduce yourself and somebody's like, well, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I teach Shakespeare or I deliver Shakespeare. They're like, ugh. And I'm like, this is why everybody hates us. Because we come from this mentality of just constantly telling people what they're wrong and going into schools and just like berating students with bum, 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 bum. Like,
yeah.
Instead of trying to find ways to be like, hey, this was written for you. There are fart jokes in here.
And that brings us to a comment by Janine Ricker. She says, what is the reading level aside from length? She says, it's also harder to write something succinct and understandable to popular audiences. My answer to that, other than the sonnets, these aren't meant to be read. No. They're meant to be read aloud. They are meant to be performed. But people are like, oh, well, is Shakespeare great literature? Should Shakespeare be considered great literature? Shakespeare, I think, is great literature because we've decided that it is, just the same as all of it. It is theater. It is great theater when you do it right. Just as apparently Harry Potter and The Cursed Child is great theater. Harry Potter and The Cursed Child, my sister goes and sees it and she says, oh my God, this was an amazing show. I read the play and I'm like, well, this was bull. I hate this. And apparently that is a common thread. So many people reading and going, what the hell is this? But then you go watch it and you're like, well, that's life-changing. So, so plays are not meant to be read by yourself unless you're an actor or a director going, all right, what am I doing? All right. I mean, now should we stop publishing them? No, get those residuals. By the way, no one has ever once sent me a residual for Romeo and Juliet.
Oh,
And I'm
sorry.
annoyed. I know, I'm annoyed. That's why I rent this house. But 400 years of residuals would have been really nice. But whatevs. Where was I going? I forget.
Well, there's a question of how to fix it.
Age appropriate. Oh yes, always the question. So but how do you write something succinct and understandable to a popular audience? Make it entertaining. You make it now. Mandalorian is long form television. It's reteaching people, along with like WandaVision and Star Trek Discovery of Picard, of how to watch TV again. You don't just binge it, although there's nothing wrong with that. You watch it episodically to get the entire larger story. And that is beautiful. People have the attention spans for it. The amount of times that the Zack Snyder Justice League was downloaded and watched is astounding, and it's 4 hours long. So there is an appetite for this as long as it engages you and entertains you. And so saying a young person doesn't have the appetite for Shakespeare, it's because they were taught wrong. They were taught to fear it.
I have a friend who went into their high school classroom. The teacher sat down. They're like, okay, this is going to be really long and boring on their first day of Shakespeare. And it's like, well, now you lost them.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is break it. Like, there is nothing you can do to a Shakespeare text that will destroy it. So if you're sitting down in a classroom with a bunch of kids and you're studying this, then just rip it to shreds. Find out what's ironic about it, what's funny about it, like what's serious, and just break it. Cast people who wouldn't be playing those parts, because you don't know if that person might have an epiphany that you as an educator didn't see earlier. You're not going, like, what's gonna happen? Shakespeare's gonna come and haunt you?
Yes, I will, actually. I will find you.
I was like, he might.
Just take the chances. Rip the script to shreds. Find out what would happen to it. It's okay. Like, ultimately, nobody's gonna, unless you blow something up, nothing's gonna be written in the history books about this English class that tore Act 2, Scene 3 of Romeo and Juliet to bits.
Yeah. And by the way, the classics, because we call them classics, the classics because they've stood the test of time in one way or another. It doesn't mean they are infallible. It doesn't mean they're all particularly good. King Lear is so messy. Troilus and Cressida. What the hell is going on there? And I happen to enjoy Troilus and Cressida when it's pared down. Go ahead. You don't like that? Chop it out. It's fine. Make something new out of it. Give a new interpretation. And I think Romeo and Juliet specifically is due for one. The most recent version that I'm aware of is Warm Bodies. So basically zombie Romeo and Juliet. By the way, fantastic movie. Stars the guy who plays Beast in the newer version of the X-Men. The first class Beast. It's fun. Give Romeo and Juliet the 10 Things I Hate About You treatment. Set it in a high school.
This is going to sound terrible, but don't assume that every single line that you're reading in a Shakespeare piece was actually written by Shakespeare. Because when they were compiling everything together, sometimes they didn't have the text and they had to go up to actors and be like, hey, remember that role you played 3 years ago? Can you please give me these lines for this speech? There is a moment in Julius Caesar where a stage direction winds up in the speech. Because
which one?
Giving them the line and mentioned the stage direction. They wrote it down as if it were his line.
That's fantastic.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I mean, and there's and on that there's also you will leave now because why is you will leave now? Oh, someone throwing shade? Yes, it's not one character throwing shade at another. It is one actor saying, "Please get off the stage," and then someone's like, And either Shakes himself or the author of the time would write it down like, all right, they need to get a freaking hint. And or it was, as you just said, it made its way into the complete works, because it's like, oh yeah, it just started being said all the time. We assumed it was part of it. And then also later, specifically 18th and 19th century editors saying, well, that can't be the line. I'm going to write in a new one. When they wrote an entirely new ending for Romeo and Juliet, where they have a love scene, the love scene that everyone wanted at the very end of it, where they get to say goodbye. And it is terribly written. I encourage you to go look it up.
18th century ending to King Lear, where Cordelia lives and runs away with Edgar.
Oh my gosh. There is a 19th century, they did the same thing with Antony and Cleopatra. Where they get the Romeo and I'm like, go see Antony and Cleopatra. They get the Romeo and Juliet treatment, and then she's like, oh my lord, she lives. Wait, what? No, I'm already dying. And instead, Cleo comes in, and they have this beautiful goodbye of, oh, don't worry, I will continue the fight. And then, oh, Octavius makes her kill herself, and then. But it's just like, that doesn't happen. No, take that out. Take that tripe out. Now, you want to do your own version of it? You go ahead and do it. Because, again, I'm not going to sue you because I've been dead for 400 years. And, again, I don't have the rights. But, Claire, as always, we always run out of time because this is always such a fun conversation. And we talked for half an hour about Romeo and Juliet quite specifically. Will you come back before Shakespeare Month is over?
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Brilliant. A couple of final comments. Sonia L. Richards says, her high school... Claire just leaned forward to read it and chopped off her own face. All right. Her high school English teachers made the theatre kids, a.k.a. her, act out the plays when they were reading them in class. All just dramatic reading. Thinks it helps other students understand it. It absolutely does do that. And that is what, among other things, the Zenith players have been doing for 55 weeks now. Oh my God, they've been doing live readings on facebook.com/Zenith Players. Go check them out, zenithplayers.com. Make a donation to the Zenith Players. Help them keep the lights on at zenithplayers.com/donations.php. Zenith Players are a wonderful theater troupe out of New Jersey that is really helping to keep live theater alive, and they are some of my nearest and dearest friends throughout this whole corona apocalypse, and I would not be nearly the artist I am without them, so thank you for that. But yes, going back into the give people a chance to do a line that they otherwise would not have. You have done wonderful things such as the all-women production of Julius Caesar, of non-traditional casting for men and women's parts. You have had trans actors play either part that either A, you felt that they would be good for, or B, they say, hey, could I give a chance to this? It's and then with Wheel of Shakespeare, it's like, spin the wheel. Hey, dudes, you might be playing a lady, or ladies, you might be playing a guy, vice versa. By the way, I'm so upset I did not get to play Beatrice. I was like, fingers crossed. I had a wig on standby, and I was like, I'm gonna look pretty. And my wife, off-screen wife, she was saying, if you get Beatrice, are you gonna take that 10 minutes in between the start of the wheel spinning and the start of the show to shave? I said, I might, or I might just slap makeup on my face and like cover the beard. And she's like, oh dear God, no matter what, this is gonna be weird. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. But there's no one right way to play Shakespeare, people, and that is the point of this. So Claire Bochenek of the Zenith, artistic director of the Zenith Players, thank you. Please come back before Shakespeare Month is over. Facebook.com/Zenith Players, zenithplayers.com, and you can make your donations. And tune in this Saturday for the 55th, I think, and maybe possibly 56th week of live online readings of Shakespeare or something else. They do Greek plays. They do so much. May Hammer, my amazing and talented co-host who has her opinions here about Romeo and Juliet quite specifically. You can find her all over the place. Go to facebook.com/may.hammer, Instagram @themayhemmer, Twitter themayhemmer, and mayhammer.com. And if you want to show her some fiscal love, you can Venmo her a tip @themayhemmer, CashApp $the PayPal may.hammer @gmail.com, and KoFi it's ko-fi.com/themayhemmer. And friends, that is basically the show for today. I am your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare. I love you, you love me. There is mutual glorious affection. Please like and subscribe to the show on Facebook. This is where the initial airings are going to be from here unto the next time I change my mind. But really trying to get everybody to come. I know, right? I'm trying to get everyone to come over and watch the show here to really build our audience. So facebook.com/Shakespeare's Coffee Break. And you can also follow me on all the right places. Facebook.com/Shakespeare Approves. Instagram, Shakespeare.approves. That's also the TikTok handle, which I haven't done a TikTok in a month, but still, it's there. Twitter @ShakesApproves, and youtube.com/Shakespeare Approves. And on YouTube, where this episode will be re-aired later today, and then living for all eternity. Go like, subscribe, click the bell, ring the bell, headbutt the bell, do something with the bell. Hopefully G-rated. And then, of course, make sure that you like and subscribe to the show, Shakespeare's Coffee Break on Facebook. This is Shakespeare Month, and this is what we're doing. All month long, we are having some wonderful conversations with people in the world of Shakespeare. Tomorrow, we have the Shakespeare Yogi taking me, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare, through a flow to better understand Benedict, the character, and also his big speech that he has. And he has several big speeches in Much Ado About Nothing, but it's going to be fantastic and fantabulous. Special thanks again to all of the sponsors of the show, the Friends of the Colorado Northwestern Field Museum, the Shakespeare Yogi, and the Renaissance Stream Guide. Please support the show by supporting the sponsors. And some upcoming events I've got to tell you about real quick. Of course, every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 10:35 a.m. here on Facebook.com/Shakespeare's Coffee Break. We have Shakespeare's Coffee Break. So tune in and watch. Writing Sonnets with Shakespeare on Thursdays. We have 2 episodes every Thursday all month long, 9 a.m. on Nat21 Adventures Twitch channel. So that's twitch.tv/Nat21 Adventures, and 10:35 on my main Facebook page, facebook.com/Shakespeare Approves, and youtube.com/Shakespeare Approves. Go watch old episodes of Shakespeare Reviews on Life's Affair. Starting in May or June, we're going to have new episodes coming out on Fridays. Go check it out. Of course, Shakespeare's Shameless Self-Promotion Happy Hour. Oh, I need to change that. Shakespeare's Shameless Self-Promotion Happy Hour is now moving to Thursdays at 5:35 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can watch that at youtube.com/Shakespeare Approves. Upcoming big shows I'm doing. I'll be doing Pixel Week, the virtual Renaissance Fair on my birthday, Shakespeare's birthday, April 23rd. That's going to be around 7 p.m. The Smithville Renaissance Fair, I'll be performing live in person with you at the historic Smithville Village in Absecon, New Jersey. And that is April 24 and 25. And next Wednesday, the Indiegogo is going to go up later today to support the actors. 12th Night in the Three Bears, Take 2, or Revenge. I don't know. Maybe the Wrath of Khan. The Wrath of Duke Orsino? I don't know. Oh my God, it's the Wrath of Duke Orsino. Yep, that's what I'm calling it. Wrath of the Murder Hornets. Next Wednesday, April 14 at 7:05 p.m. because my social distancing players are 1 year old, and we are bringing back the original cast that started it off to celebrate. And yes, it is a celebration. It's not a mourning. It is a celebration because we have kept live theater alive. And that has been largely due to you. If you would like to support the show, show me some love in a financial sort of way, you certainly can. You can buy me a cup of coffee at ko-fi.com/Shakespeare. That's ko-fi.com/Shakespeare, and buy me a cuppa. Or become a Patreon of the arts at patreon.com/Shakespeare. Tiers start at $3, go all the way to $30. And right now, and for a little bit of the foreseeable future, all the tiers get the exact same rewards, which include coming to the next installment of Shakespeare's Friday Night Concert Series, which features features Christina Coyer. That is next Friday night at 8 p.m. Tickets are $5 on Eventbrite, and I'm going to have cover art for that tomorrow's show and later today. But thank you so much on behalf of my co-host Mayhemmer and our special guest Claire Bochenek. Thanks very much for joining us. I love you. You love me. There is mutual glorious affection. We will see you soon, Internet. Stay classy and bye-bye.